Okay, for the single welt pocket, again, we had the same process where we mark that square, which is the size of our pocket. Now that pocket can be any size, of course, if you want to go smaller or bigger. Now I have the strip again, which is your binding strip. Now because it's a single welt pocket, we are not using 2 strips, we are only using 1. The space for this is 1/2 inch. My strip in the end after seam allowance is 1/2 inch, okay? I have cut right in the center at the 1/4 and I've pressed it all around so it's easy for me to determine the lines where everything is. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I am gonna sew the corners of my strip, preparing it. I always want to back stitch to secure my seams. Once all the threads are trimmed off, I'm just trimming a little bit of fraying that's happening here. I'm gonna clip at the angle where I have to fold to avoid bulkiness because I want it to peek out a little bit and look more squared. So I'm going at an angle, staying 1/8 inch away from my seam, okay? Then I'm gonna cut a little bit here and I'm just going on one layer, making it slightly uneven than the other one. So as you can see now, what happens is when there are 2 layers cut at the same point and they're not going to be pressed open and they're connected, they add bulkiness in that area. So if there are 2 different size cut, it splits the bulkiness slightly. And I'm repeating that same step on the other side, cutting it on an angle. Okay. Once I have all that figured out, my strip, I can flip it inside out, and that gives me very nice, sharp, clean corners. Gonna poke my corners out and I had no issues. Came out very nice and beautifully. Now once this is done, I'm gonna give it a quick press, or I'll get Daisy to do the honors. Now the one thing you'll have to remember in this one is that the seam allowance on your band is 1/2 inch, whereas right here, this is not a 1/2 inch, this is 1/4. So if it helps you, you can always draw 1/4 inch line here so that you're not going over with your measurements or less with your measurements. So I'll just, I know I can work it around, but you guys can mark for it. So I'm placing it where it needs to be connected. And then I know that these are the seams I'm connecting together. Now this part right here is 1/4, whereas the measurement I have on this is my 1/2 inch, right? So I'm gonna make sure that is balanced. And I'm just pinning it. So if you see my 1/2 inch one, my 1/2 inch band right here is a little bit bigger because this strip right here that we cut is 1/4, right? I'm gonna just double check before I end up sewing it that everything looks good on that, and it seems like it is lining up and everything looks okay, so I can go ahead and sew it. Just readjusting the line here. So I'm gonna be sewing at that pressed line, using it as a guideline. And again, I am lining up with my 1/2 inch. Back stitching to secure my stitch. Want to make sure everything else is out of the way. So this is exactly the same step we did for our double welt pocket, right? And it looks like this right now. So once it's flipped in, see how I don't have extra space on the top anymore? It's just lining up perfectly where that 1/2 inch is. So I'll show you guys. That's why we did not want to make it bigger. We wanted to keep it at the same measurement as we have for the strip. Now moving on, I'm gonna attach the pocket bag to this. Now again, I'm starting with the top for my pocket bag, and the way it connects is I'm connecting it with this line, but it's folded up, right? So I'm taking this and I'm matching my notches of my 1/2 inch. Now remember again that this is only 1/4, so you can have your markings done over here. And my other arrow perfectly lines up right here with the notch. So I'm gonna go ahead and I am gonna sew my pocket bag down right here on the top layer. So I have my pocket bag sewn right here at the back. Okay, and then I have my band right here. Now this is the point where I was saying that you may or may not have the top stitch. So if you don't want to go here and stitch in the ditch or stitch on the top, make sure it is nicely pressed down for you. Did you want me to show the top stitch? You want to do without the top stitch this time?
Either or.
Okay, so if you're doing the top stitch, now is the time to actually go ahead and do that stitch right here, okay? And if you're not, then you can go ahead and connect this bag on the other side right here. Now remember that this bag and your band is 1/2 inch seam allowance, so it shouldn't be a problem lining this up at all. And I'm just matching the notches here, making sure everything is perfect, and of course use pins as needed. Now I'm just going to sew the pocket bag down on the lower layer. I'm going to make sure everything is out of the way and nothing is caught in here. So you have yourself a pocket and a pocket bag. Our second last step is to move this aside, take out this band so it's not getting caught, and I am going to be sewing down my angles. Once that is done, you can do it in one go, or you can first sew your angles down and then sew this part, whatever is the best for you. I'm just moving this aside. I'm going to be sewing the angles first. And this is where I want to be a little bit more precise. I want to make sure I am going on that 1/2 inch seam allowance of that angle. Otherwise you see a little hole kind of left in there. And I'm closing the side of my pocket bag. You repeat the same step on the other side, but do you see how it just secures the side right there? And on this side you still have that hollow. I went quite close so you don't see anything lifting here, which is really good. Then when it comes to sealing this side, I want to make sure this is perfectly nicely lined up right here. I don't see anything happening, anything lifting at this point, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew down my edges. Once your edges are properly sewn down, it looks very clean on the ends. I'll finish this side up as well, and you'll get to see the whole pocket. Of course, pressing is very important when it comes for this one too, so don't be afraid to just stop what you're doing and get up and press if you need to. And of course, I am gonna go back in here and I will secure this end as well. All right? Pretty easy.
Yeah.
And there you have yourself a nice functioning Welt pocket.